Everyone in the capital knows that the head of the Shen family, in order to marry a Cinderella, dismissed all the women in his villa. At the banquet, when a scheming woman accidentally spilled a drop of wine on my dress, he uprooted her entire family and sent them to Africa. After winter came, my feet were cold, so he personally soaked them for me every day before going to bed. He was willing to be a foot-washing servant for me, just so I could sleep more comfortably in winter. Later, when his mother Emily disagreed, he resorted to crying, making a fuss, threatening to hang himself, and even went on a hunger strike. He said that in this life, he only recognized me. But a playboy is still a playboy. In the suburbs of the capital, he hid a woman. Every time he used the excuse of a business trip, it was to accompany that woman. So, I also did something behind his back. Madam, are you sure you want to renounce your citizenship? Once renounced, you will no longer have nationality in Country H, and this decision is irrevocable. The staff at the Country H registry office were somewhat surprised. Country H is currently the safest country. Many foreigners want to come to Country H, but obtaining Country H citizenship is extremely difficult, yet someone wants to renounce it. I am sure, please help me with the renunciation. Seeing my firm attitude, she did not persuade me further and complied with my wish, then sighed and said, Miss, you must leave Country H in 7 days, after that, there will be no one named Sophia in Country H. Wait a minute, your name is Sophia? Charles's fiancée Sophia? The staff member who was printing the documents looked shocked. I nodded calmly. As long as I renounce my citizenship, Charles will never find me again. Leaving the registry office, the entire capital was decorated with lights and colors. Tourists visiting the capital were puzzled. It was only June, and they were already decorating for the Qixi festival? So he pulled someone nearby and asked, is there some happy event in the capital? The Qixi festival hasn't arrived yet. The local resident he pulled looked disdainful and said, you don't know this? The head of the Shen family in the capital, Charles, is getting married. After 10 years of love, they are finally tying the knot. In 7 days, it will be the Shen family's wedding day. Young Master Shen started preparing early, saying he wants to give his wife the most splendid wedding. I walked past them, feeling a trace of helplessness in my heart. In the capital, everyone knows that the current head of the Shen family, Charles, cherishes me like the apple of his eye. For me, he did not hesitate to fall out with his family to be with me, and for our engagement, he fought with his family for a full 10 years. All this was to give me a legitimate status. He went on hunger strikes and threatened suicide. Others advised him, with our status, what kind of woman can't we get? It's the same to keep one hidden as a mistress. What did he say at that time? I love Sophia, she is different from those women. In the future, she will be my wife, the mother of my children. I will never let her suffer such grievances. Countless times when we were intimate, I wanted to have a child with him, but he refused. He wanted our child to be legitimate, not to bear the status of an illegitimate child. Over these 10 years, he fulfilled his promise. No matter what banquet he attended, he always had me stand by his side, announcing to everyone that I was his fiancée. He only loved me, and the mother of his children would only be me, Sophia. But just 2 months ago, in a large apartment in the suburbs of the capital, Charles had a woman there. Since then, his business trips became more frequent, and whenever his assistant used the excuse of going out for social engagements, he would go there to accompany that woman. Opening my phone, I saw 33 circles marked on the calendar, and I added another stroke beside them. Each stroke represented a time when Charles went to that woman. I didn't want to hear others endlessly envious anymore, so I turned off my phone and took a taxi back to the Song family mansion. This villa was bought for me by him, said to be my premarital property, so that if I was unhappy or angry with him in the future, I could come here. At that time, he swore that he would never give me this opportunity. But in the past 2 months, I have come here more and more frequently. I suppose that woman is once again in Charles's arms, enjoying his favor. Ding. The phone rang, bringing me back to my senses. It was from the registry office. Miss Sophia, your application to renounce your citizenship has been approved. In 7 days, you will no longer be a citizen of Country H. Please make sure to leave Country H within 7 days. Okay, I will leave on time in 7 days. Leave? Where are you going? Just as I hung up the phone, a deep questioning voice came from behind me. Charles was back. Before I could speak, the man hugged me from behind, and the pungent smell of perfume filled my nose, making me frown. Honey, do you want to go to Paris? After our wedding, we can go to Paris for our honeymoon, how about that? Charles buried his head in my neck and kissed me, showing no guilt for his infidelity. He forgot that I never use perfume. I do want to go to Paris, but not with him. I responded expressionlessly, okay. Charles didn't notice anything unusual about me and then carried me to his lap, holding my waist while handling his work. He loved this position. Whenever he worked from home, he would hold me like this. He said it gave him a sense of security, that he wanted to possess me completely. But I knew very well that this position was not exclusive to me. Suddenly, he seemed to see something, and the hand around my waist loosened. I fell backward abruptly, hitting my head on the armrest of the chair. The sound of the impact brought him back to his senses, and he quickly picked me up in a princess carry, placed me on the sofa, and checked my head. I'm sorry, honey, I just. He said this and was about to get the first aid kit, but I stopped him. I'm fine. If you have something urgent, go handle it first. At this moment, my eyes were filled with tears, and I didn't dare to look up at him. The message that had distracted him just now was probably from that woman. I had already seen it out of the corner of my eye. Charles touched my head and softened his voice. Sophia, you're the best. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. I nodded in response, urging him to leave quickly, fearing that if he stayed any longer, my tears would fall. After he left, I masochistically took a taxi to follow him, wanting to see what magic that woman had. As soon as he entered the door, Charles pulled Mia into his arms and even spanked her bottom. Pretending to be angry, he said, "You little vixen, didn't I just satisfy you? What? You want more? Do you know that the message you sent just now almost got discovered by my wife?" Mia boldly took off her outer clothes, revealing her lace bra, and placed the man's hand on it. Wouldn't it be more exciting if Daddy's wife found out? As she was about to kiss Charles's Adam's apple, the next second, the man's hand moved from her chest to her neck and squeezed hard. I warn you, don't ruin my relationship with my wife. Just do your job of warming the bed, and I won't treat you badly. Mia was gasping for breath and quickly begged for mercy. Spare me, I won't. Seeing the woman's flushed face and her slightly parted lips due to shortness of breath, Charles felt a tightness in his lower abdomen and quickly stuck out his tongue to block her mouth. Outside the window, I clenched my fists so hard that my nails dug into my palms, while inside, the two were entangled in a passionate kiss. I never thought that Charles, who was always gentlemanly and polite in front of me, could have such a wild side. Since he had already changed his heart, why bother pretending to be devoted? Blood flowed from my palm, and the pain brought me back to my senses, but a suffocating feeling filled my chest. At that moment, Mia noticed me outside the window. Her eyes were provocative, as if saying, "Your man has still become my conquest." The next second, she reached out and grabbed Charles's lower abdomen. "Hiss, you little vixen, you're naughty." With that, Charles flipped Mia over and pressed her onto the table. Both of them stripped off their clothes, one in front of the other. Seeing this scene, I couldn't bear it any longer and leaned against the wall, vomiting. "Charles, you are so disgusting. I don't want you anymore. I never want you again." After dry heaving until my body was weak, I finally felt sleepy. The bedroom door creaked, and Charles returned. The man smelled of soap, presumably having cleaned himself. He took off his coat and lifted my blanket. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep, not responding. The next moment, he reached out to warm my cold feet, as if the disgusting person just now wasn't him. I didn't want it to be him, but reality is reality. No matter spring, summer, autumn, or winter, I always have cold feet, especially when I'm in a bad mood. Charles would always use his hands to warm my feet, and I was often deeply moved. But now, I only feel that these hands are so dirty, really dirty. The warmth from my salts came, and I couldn't resist it, falling into a deep sleep. When I woke up again, it was already the next day, the bed was empty except for me, and Charles was long gone. The maid beside me respectfully handed me a glass of water and explained, "Charles is going on a business trip for the next few days and won't be coming to accompany you." I nodded indifferently and looked at the gift on the bedside table. It was a pair of fire-colored earrings. Inside, there was a card that read, "Sophia, I'm going on a business trip for a few days, but don't worry, I will attend our wedding on time. In the bottom right corner, your loving husband." He even drew a pink heart. If I didn't know about Mia's existence, I would probably be dancing with joy right now. Whether he is really going on a business trip or going to cheat, it doesn't matter to me anymore. Anyway, I am about to leave the country, so I started packing my luggage. In the 10 years I was with Charles, he gave me many gifts, a Cartier bracelet, a 2 million yuan Hermes bag, and a 30 million yuan sports car. I put them all in the cabinet, along with the earrings from the bedside table. People used to say that where a man's money is, there his love is. Now, thinking carefully, this saying is wrong. Charles is from a wealthy family in the capital. This amount of money is just a drop in the bucket for him. He is marrying me but also keeping someone else outside, and he would spend this insignificant amount of money on others as well. His love, like his money, is truly abundant. Just as I locked the cabinet door, the villa's doorbell rang. I thought it was Charles returning early. I went to open the door, and to my surprise, it was Emily, whom I hadn't seen in 10 years. Aunt Emily? I was puzzled. Why did she come? After all, since Charles was reluctant to marry me, she had always disliked me. "Sophia, it's not easy to guard an empty house alone, is it?" Emily sneered. It seems that she, as his mother, also knows about the mistress. I pretended not to know and smiled. "Aunt Emily, Charles is on a business trip. If you have something to say, you can wait until he returns from his trip." "Ha ha ha ha, business trip? You still don't know?" Emily laughed loudly. It seems that everyone in the Shen family knows, and only I was kept in the dark. Now, with only 3 days left before leaving the country, I can't make any mistakes. Emily has a big mouth. If she finds out that I know Charles is keeping a mistress outside, the next second, the entire capital will know. I asked innocently, "Aunt Emily, know what?" Then I pretended to be panicked, grabbed Emily's hand, and asked, "Aunt Emily, did something happen to Charles on his business trip? You can't hide it from me." My anxious appearance was genuine. Emily shook off my hand and pushed me back. "Boring. I've never seen such a foolish woman like you." My hand hit the corner of the table, breaking the skin and bleeding. I quickly wiped my tears. "Aunt Emily, I didn't provoke you, did I? It hurts." Emily quickly stepped back. She knew how much her son doted on this woman. If her son found out that she had hurt Sophia, he would be furious again. "Don't try to scam me, you bumped into it because you didn't stand steady. There are only 3 days left until the wedding, you should prepare yourself quickly." Perhaps feeling flustered, Emily threw a card at me. "Take good care of yourself, and don't embarrass the Shen family at the wedding." After saying that, Emily quickly left the villa. Looking at this card, a strange idea suddenly popped into my mind. Although I hadn't seen Emily in the past 10 years, she had said plenty of bad things about me in the capital. Now that I was about to leave, it was time for me to strike back. "Charles, this is the price you pay for betraying me." I packed my new documents and the clothes I would wear. Over the years, although I was in a relationship with Charles, I didn't give up on myself. I earned quite a bit from jewelry design, enough to settle abroad. To avoid any mistakes, I specifically placed them in a storage locker at a hotel closest to the airport. The day before the wedding, Charles returned and brought a wedding dress worth 900 million. The wedding dress was beautiful, designed by my favorite wedding dress designer. I touched the jewels on the dress, each one priceless and dazzling. Seeing my satisfied smile, Charles stared at me intently. The moment I looked up and met his gaze, there was liking, love, and possessiveness in the man's eyes. But it was ridiculous that such a man, whose eyes were full of me, could also cheat. He asked me happily, "Sophia, do you like it?" In his expectant tone, I slowly said, "I like it very much, thank you, Charles." Charles opened his arms, picked me up, and spun me around like a victorious general. "Sophia, we are finally getting married. After 10 years, I can finally marry you." If it were in the past, upon hearing this, I would have been extremely excited to kiss him. But now, he doesn't deserve it, I find him dirty. It wasn't until my dizzy screams came that Charles put me down. Looking at my moist eyes, he kissed me bit by bit, then started to undress. At this moment, I really wanted to ask, "Charles, why is your desire so great? Great enough to say you love me while keeping a mistress?" But I held back and pushed him away forcefully. Charles was puzzled. "Sophia, what's wrong? Are you uncomfortable?" Just as I was about to answer, Charles's phone rang. He looked at it and immediately hung up. But the person on the other end kept calling, he kept hanging up, and they kept calling back. I advised, "Charles, answer it, maybe there's something urgent." Only then did Charles press the answer button, covered the phone, and went to the balcony. 5 minutes later, Charles came out and apologized to me. "Sophia, I suddenly have something urgent, you try on the wedding dress by yourself first." Just as he was taking his coat to leave, I called out to him, "Charles, can you not go? I have something to tell you tonight. Sophia, we are getting married tomorrow, whatever it is, we can talk about it tomorrow. I really have something urgent." With that, the man rushed out the door. Watching the back of the man I had loved for 10 years disappear before my eyes, tears fell one by one. I had originally wanted to have a proper farewell today, but it seems there's no need now. I didn't want to try on a wedding dress that wasn't meant for me. I placed the note I was going to leave and the bank card Emily gave me on the box. After wiping away my tears, just as I was about to go upstairs to change into casual clothes, my phone suddenly received a message from an unknown number. "Do you want to know what your man is doing right now?" Just from this sentence, I guessed it was Mia. I didn't reply, and then she sent another photo. It was her pregnancy test report. She was pregnant. No wonder Charles left in such a hurry just now, he was going to be a father. Immediately after, Mia sent numerous photos, all taken during their recent business trips, the aurora in Antarctica, polar bears in the Arctic, deserts at the equator. They had been everywhere. "Sophia, let me tell you, Charles loves me the most. If you know what's good for you, leave quickly." I didn't reply, leaving was exactly what I wanted anyway. After changing my clothes, I left the villa with only my phone. As I was leaving, the maid called out to me, "Madam, where are you going?" I turned back and said, "Please return the box on the table to Charles." Then I walked straight out of the villa gate without looking back. Meanwhile, in the large apartment in the suburbs of the capital, Charles was holding the pregnancy test report, grinning from ear to ear. But then he frowned and said, "This must not be known to Sophia. In the future, this child will be raised here, and I won't treat you badly." Mia also knew that now was not the time to compete for favor, she needed to give birth to the child first. "I'll listen to everything Charles says." Mia's obedience pleased Charles. He knew very well that this woman was after his money. To him, she was just a pet kept in bed. Sophia was weak and had difficulty giving birth, so having this woman bear a child could also relieve Sophia's loneliness of having no children. While Charles was still staring at the pregnancy test report in a daze, Mia seized the opportunity, unbuckled the man's belt, and knelt down. His lower abdomen gradually swelled, and Charles's anger rushed to his head, leading to another passionate encounter. When he woke up again, it was already broad daylight. Charles quickly asked his assistant to bring the groom's suit. He still had to marry Sophia today. But as soon as he turned on his phone, the assistant's call came in. He suddenly felt a pang of anxiety, sensing that something bad had happened. He pressed the answer button, and before he could speak, the assistant's panicked voice came through, "Charles, something's wrong, Madam is gone. She left a box and a note inside. You should come home quickly to see." On the way back to the villa, Charles was still wearing his groom's suit. He suddenly recalled what I said when we confirmed our relationship. Charles, if you continue to fool around with women in the future, I won't tell you. I'll leave far away, so you can never find me again. Don't worry, this young master has turned over a new leaf now. I only love you, and in the future, there will only be you by my side. Thinking of this, Charles instantly panicked, accelerating the car to 280 kilometers per hour, muttering to himself, "No, Sophia said she would marry me, she won't run away, she won't." Opening the door, Charles rushed into my bedroom in one stride. Seeing that the clothes I usually wore and the jewelry I wore were still there, he then opened my desk and found my ID and passport were also there, and he immediately breathed a sigh of relief. However, the ID and passport Charles saw were my old ones. I had renounced my citizenship and had already immigrated. I had a new identity, and I would never use the name Sophia again. "Sophia, stop hiding, Sophia, the wedding is about to start. Come out and put on your wedding dress. Didn't you say you wanted to be the most beautiful bride today? Come out quickly." Charles opened every bedroom in the villa, but nothing inside had been moved, only I was nowhere to be found. "Sophia, where are you? If you don't come out, I'll really get angry. The kind that even coaxing won't help, Sophia." Seeing their CEO going crazy, no one dared to approach, except for the maid who had asked me a question when I left. She tremblingly stepped forward. "Charles, last night, I saw Madame change into casual clothes and leave with a suitcase. She also asked me to give you this box." Inside the box was my wedding dress, a bank card, and a note. It was after seeing these that the assistant called Charles. However, today, the guests attending the Shen group's wedding were all prominent figures, so Henry, as Charles's personal assistant, went to greet them after making the call. "Charles, when you see this note, I will have already left. Don't come looking for me. I originally wanted to say a proper goodbye to you yesterday, but you had something to do and left, probably to see that woman again. I'm tired, I can't love you anymore. This bank card was given to me by your mother to make me leave you. I don't need it, I never wanted your money. I have the ability to love, in the future, I will have a new lover. I wish you and your new partner 100 years of happiness. Signed, Sophia." A new lover? A new lover, Sophia, don't you love me anymore? I don't believe it, I don't believe it. Charles was so angry that he tore the note to shreds. That woman? Sophia had known all along, why didn't she say anything? Sophia, have you been planning to leave for a long time? Answer me, answer me. By this time, I was already waiting at the airport and could no longer respond to Charles. Passenger Anna, please note that your flight G1505 is about to take off, please board as soon as possible. Passenger Anna, please note that your flight G1505 is about to take off, please board as soon as possible. After the announcement urged twice, I looked back once more at the land that raised me, then boarded the plane without looking back. From then on, there would be no more Sophia. Charles, farewell forever. Charles, have you found Madame? The wedding is about to start, and all the Shen Group's business partners have arrived. Henry's call came through, but Charles had no mind to pay attention to him. His Sophia didn't want him anymore, didn't want him. Hearing no response, Henry hung up the phone. The sound of high heels approached, and Charles suddenly looked up. Seeing it wasn't Sophia, he lay back on the sofa. Charles, Henry told me everything. Miss Sophia, she. Mia lay on the sofa with him, pretending to be a comforting companion. But now everyone is waiting for the Shen Group's wedding, you have to attend. Not mentioning the wedding would have been better, mentioning it made Charles think of Sophia again, and of Sophia's note. Charles got up and grabbed Mia by the neck, his eyes fierce with anger. It's all because of you that Sophia left. Mia knew what this man liked, she didn't resist but just pried at his hands to allow herself to breathe normally and say a few words. Charles, I have never disturbed Miss Sophia, you know that. I just want to be with the child, properly. Mentioning the child, Charles loosened his grip. In his early years, he played around too much, and Charles's body was already ruined. The doctor diagnosed him with oligospermia, making it extremely difficult to conceive a child. Plus, Sophia was in poor health, so he thought of adopting a child from a collateral branch in the future. But when he learned that Mia was pregnant, he was genuinely happy. At this moment, Henry came in hurriedly. "Charles, if you don't go to the wedding now, the clients won't sit still." "Have you found Miss Sophia?" "She's gone and won't come back," Charles said with hatred. Henry and Mia exchanged a glance. Mia nodded at him, and then Henry said, "Charles, why not?" He looked at Mia in front of Charles. "Why not let Miss Mia wear the wedding dress and get through the wedding first?" As soon as he said this, Mia quickly waved her hands. "I can't do that, this position belongs to Miss Sophia." "How can I replace Miss Sophia to attend the wedding? Miss Sophia is the woman Charles loves the most. As long as Miss Sophia can treat my child well in the future, that's all I ask for. I don't seek anything else." Compared to my sudden departure, Mia's tactful behavior at this moment won Charles's heart. "If you don't want to be my wife, Charles, there are others who do." Charles said this vindicatively. Then he threw the box to Mia. "You wear it." Mia was overjoyed. After being a mistress for so long, she didn't expect to receive such a big surprise. "Charles, don't worry, today, I'm just acting with you. When Miss Sophia is found, I'll return the wedding dress to her. Don't mention that woman to me again, I don't want to see her anymore." After saying this, Charles headed straight out of the villa. Henry took Mia's hand. "Madam, I'll drive you to the hotel." "Henry, from now on, the Shen family's wealth will be ours. That Charles, who thinks with his lower body, has still fallen under my skirt." Mia lifted her head and kissed Henry on the cheek, saying, "If I hadn't taken his semen for testing early on and found out he couldn't have children, and then slept with you, I would still be wasting my time on him. In the future, let Charles be the cuckolded father. After I give birth, the company will be yours, ha ha ha, then I have to thank you, darling, and my son." Henry was smug and slapped Mia's bottom hard, completely unaware of Charles standing behind them. Charles's face looked as if he had eaten shit. His mistress had actually hooked up with his assistant, treating him like a fool. He quickly walked towards the two, kicked Henry 108 times, and then slapped Mia's face 108 times. Then he raised his hand and tightly gripped Mia's neck. The woman was full of panic, breathing rapidly, using the barely survivable air to say, "Charles, listen to me, explain." Charles was now completely consumed by anger. One hand wasn't enough, so he used both. "Listen to your explanation?" "Explain what?" "That you cuckolded me? I treated you too well, didn't I? Yet you conspired to deceive me. You adulterous couple have deceived me until now, you both deserve to die. It's pitiful that my wife was driven away by you." The air was getting thinner, and Mia felt she was about to disappear, quickly begging Henry for help. "Henry, save me." Henry had just been kicked more than 100 times by Charles, his ribs broken, and couldn't get up at all. Seeing Mia's face turn purple, Charles was pulled back by reason, let go, and threw Mia to Henry. He made a phone call, and instantly, 100 Maybachs stopped at the villa's entrance. "Charles, what are your orders?" From the Maybachs, 9,999 bodyguards in black got out and respectfully saluted Charles. "Within 24 hours, find out where Sophia has gone. And sell this man to the black market, this face should fetch a good price." The black market? Henry had heard of the Shen family's black market, where human trafficking catered to the perverse desires of wealthy merchants. The fate of men was much more miserable than that of women. Women could rest when pregnant, but men couldn't get pregnant. At this moment, Henry couldn't care less about his pain and quickly begged for mercy. "Charles, spare me, Charles, it was this slut who seduced me, otherwise, how would I dare to touch your woman? Charles, Charles, please see clearly, it was this woman who was exceptionally flirtatious and seduced me." The bodyguards were quick, they immediately covered Henry's mouth to prevent him from dirtying Charles's ears further. The next moment, Charles approached Mia, lifted his foot, and stepped on the woman's belly. "You want me to be the cuckolded father, huh? Fine, today I'll find you 999 fathers." After ensuring that blood was flowing from her, Charles kicked Mia towards the gathering of bodyguards behind him. "This woman is yours, don't play her to death. Make her pregnant with each of your children, and I'll give you 100 million. "Yes, Charles." The bodyguards saluted in unison again. After dispatching some people to find Sophia, the rest took Mia into the cars in batches. Miserable screams and howls echoed throughout the entire capital. But I couldn't hear this series of events. The plane flew for a full 12 hours and finally landed in Paris. I completed the enrollment procedures and restarted my journey in jewelry design. This time, there was no man by my side, my mind was fully focused on my design drafts. I really liked this kind of life. Although I was happy when I was in love with Charles before, I inevitably had to give up my career to consider his feelings. And Charles often said, "How much money can you make from designing?" "I'll support you, honey." For the sake of this love, I had to listen to these words that made me physically uncomfortable. But now, at the Milan Design Institute, every day I receive academic language about jewelry design. There is no gender discrimination here, only strict requirements for one's work. Unknowingly, I had been in Milan for a month. That day, just after school, my friend Lakin pushed me into the dormitory. She said nervously, "Anna, don't go out recently, there are many bodyguards in black outside." I was puzzled, what's going on? What are these bodyguards in black doing at the school? It seems they are from the Shen family in Country H, looking for a Madame Song. What? Charles found me so quickly? Even after renouncing my citizenship and changing my name, I couldn't escape him? I secretly glanced out the window. Whenever the bodyguards in black saw a woman, they would compare her with the photo in their hands. I frowned and asked Lakin, "Where are the Milan police? Don't they care? This is seriously violating the school's security." Lakin shook her head at me. "The Shen family is the second largest shareholder of the Milan Design Institute, except for the first family, the Schirmers, who dares to provoke them?" Bang bang bang, the sound of kicking the door came, and I quickly covered my face with a scarf. Routine inspection. The bodyguard in black held up the photo, intending to pull my face. I threw a left hook at his left eye, then desperately covered my scarf. The bodyguard, in pain, yanked off my scarf, lifted my face, and carefully compared it with the photo. After finding a similarity, he used smart AI to compare again. After confirming it was correct, the bodyguard quickly called Charles. I was restrained by the bodyguards and couldn't move. Soon, Charles arrived. "Sophia, Sophia, you've finally come. Do you know how hard I've been looking for you?" As soon as Charles saw me, he wailed and hugged me tightly, refusing to let go. "From now on, stay by my side obediently and never leave again, okay?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Charles, you've got the wrong person. My name is Anna, not Sophia at all." I signaled Lakin to hand him my documents, but he didn't even look at them. I inquired at the registry office, "You specifically went to renounce your citizenship 7 days before our wedding, right? It was to punish me for finding women outside, and now you've done it." "Sophia, I know I was wrong. From now on, you'll be the only one by my side. Can you please don't run away? Let's go back to our country. We still have a wedding to hold." Charles pulled me and was about to leave, but I resisted. "Charles, you've got the wrong person, I'm not Sophia. Let me go, help. Your voice, your face are Sophia's. Sophia, stop denying it, I won't let you leave again." Charles tied my hands and feet, carried me on his shoulder, and walked out. At that moment, a voice in broken Chinese came, "Charles, put down my wife." It was him, Shermere. "Charles, this is clearly my wife Anna, not some Sophia. Have you gone mad looking for someone lately, pouncing on anyone who looks similar?" The bodyguard stepped forward to remind him, "Charles, this is the head of the Shermere family in Milan, we can't afford to offend him." Charles hesitated, put me down, and looked at my face again. "Shermere, this is my wife Sophia, not some Anna." Charles was very certain. After 10 years of love, he remembered every part of me, my voice, my eyes, my mouth. My eyes darted around. I absolutely couldn't go back with Charles. I broke free from his embrace and leaned towards Shermere. Charles, I am indeed not your wife, my husband is this man beside me, Shermere. Shermere didn't expect that the first time he met his idol, he could be relied upon. His youthful face instantly lifted, taking on a hint of authority. Charles wanted to snatch me back, but the sound of police sirens came. After all, this wasn't Country H, not his territory. Under the protection of his bodyguards, Charles rushed towards the back door. It's okay now, you don't have to be afraid, idol. I could tell that Shermere was trying hard to speak Chinese to me. Idol? What idol? I asked in confusion. I wasn't an actor or a singer. Shermere took out a ring. This is your design, right? Yes, it's my design, called the Antarctic Star. Thank you for liking it, Mr. Shermere. In the future, I will design even more outstanding works. I extended my hand, wanting to get to know this gentleman properly. I had just heard from Lacan that this Shermere was the largest shareholder in Milan, a potential financial backer in the future. He liked my work, so in the future, my works wouldn't worry about sales. Jewelry designers may sound like artists, but in reality, they are salespeople. Only when the sales of my jewelry increase will my designs be known to more people. Anna, your name is Anna, right? My full name is Shermere Labrador. Hearing the last few words, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Labrador, ha ha ha. Miss Anna, what are you laughing at? Nothing, I just think your name sounds nice. Mr. Labrador, I have a few jewelry design portfolios in my hand, do you have time now? Invited by his idol, Shermere was overjoyed. I have time, I have time. As they were leaving, Shermere's butler stepped forward to stop him. Young master, the master asked you to go on a blind date this afternoon, you. Shermere gave him a look. What blind date? Isn't this my wife? Tell my dad that I've found a daughter-in-law. Unable to find me, Charles returned to the capital and spent his days either drinking or womanizing, his health deteriorating. Until one day, he was reminiscing and checked my phone, where he found the chat records between Mia and me. Once again, anger rose in his heart, and he had the bodyguards bring Mia over. At this moment, Mia had completely lost her previous arrogance. She covered her belly, which was pregnant with who knows whose child. Don't touch me, don't touch me. I am Charles's wife, and the child in my belly is the heir of the Shen family. All of you, get lost, get lost. Charles grabbed her hair and pressed her against the phone screen. Did you send these? Speak. Although Mia was foolish, she could read. She read out the content word by word. Charles loves me the most, Charles loves me. Sophia, if you know what's good for you, leave quickly. Leave quickly, ha ha ha, I sent it. Charles is also mine, hee hee. A madwoman, Charles completely lost his patience with her. Throw her out. Charles waved his hand. Seeing people coming to grab her again, Mia resisted fiercely. How dare you? Do you know who I am? I am Charles's wife. Not only is Charles mine, but Sophia is also mine. Emily was watching this scene from upstairs. It was then that she realized how ruthless her own son could be. Henry was played to death, Mia was also played to death, then she. Emily carefully brought a cup of tea to Charles and said, Son, if you can't find Sophia, so be it. In the future, Mother will find you a few more girls, how about that? Upon hearing this, Charles directly grabbed Emily's neck with both hands like claws. It's all because of you, because of you. If you had let Sophia in earlier, how could Sophia have flown away and disappeared from me? It's all because of you, you don't love me at all, you only love the obedient me. Son, it's not like that, it's not. Emily thought her son would at most scold her a few words and never lay a hand on her, but now he was actually using deadly force. Having been the matriarch of the Shen family for half her life, Emily never thought she would die at the hands of her own son. After killing another person, Charles only felt immensely satisfied, but he wanted one person, he wanted Sophia. Only Sophia didn't care about his money, his fame, or his benefits, she only loved him as a person. But later, why didn't Sophia love him anymore? Charles really wanted to ask me in person, but he was destined never to see me again in this lifetime. Shen was wealthy, handsome, and interesting, especially respectful towards women. We had only known each other for 3 days before confirming our relationship. After holding a grand wedding with Shen, we returned to Country H for a trip, listening to everyone's gossip. It was then that I learned that on that day, Charles did not attend the wedding, standing up half of the capital's aristocratic families. Later, because he was looking for me, he let the bodyguards in black freely enter and exit every place to find people, offending many dignitaries in the capital. The aristocratic families in the capital rose up to attack, all eyeing the Shen family's wealth, and even the wealthy families in the capital wanted to get a share. In the end, the trillion-dollar family fortune was snatched away, and Charles jumped off a building. From then on, there was no more Shen family in the capital, and no more Charles. With a sigh, this was the end of this century-old family. My life continued. The wicked have their own tormentors. As long as I focus on my own affairs, without stealing, robbing, or being greedy, life can still be lived well. Shen and I smiled at each other and continued on to the next leg of our journey.